I'm president of SiteMinis. SiteMinis is a mobile web company. SiteMinis is a company that was founded in 2007, and we offer a mobile web platform. That means if you want to take your PC site and make it work on the majority of phones that have browser capabilities in the world, we do that. So just if you want to know the math on it, by 2015, more people will access the internet via their mobile phone than they do a PC. By 2020, there should be 10 billion mobile form factors out there. If you just do the math, it's almost 1 3/4 for every man, woman, and child there is in the world. A heck of a lot more than the billion PCs that are out there. So mobile is a good place to be. And that's where we're at as a company. We design, implement, have platforms to make things go and work in the mobile space. I wanted to take a quick second and say, what do I do as president of SiteMinis? I started in retail years ago. I ran huge chunks of Home Depot as a senior vice president. So I know the big box thing. I know what big volume is. And all these things I did when I was a vice president: crisis management, organizational leadership, profitability improvement, P&L responsibilities. And I do all those same things in a small startup company. The only difference is I do a lot more things besides that. You still, as president of a small company or president of a large company, you still have these kind of responsibilities. So my point really is that my goal wasn't to be president of a particular company. My goal was to find something interesting to do with my life that I enjoyed, that I found challenging, and that I thought offered a solution to a business problem that I could get involved with and ultimately make money with. So the difference between my conversation and the one that you were sitting in, you were listening to Trader Joe's once, because I've been through that. You want a career path? You want to be able to logically peg out every step of year and year. Here's what's going into my retirement. Here's what's going to happen here. Here's what's going to happen here. You know, a startup business or a small company may not be the place for you to start, because that's where you put all the risk on the table. So we're going to talk today about a career strategy in a software environment, because software executives, so I thought I would just throw that into computer sciences, kind of if you were interested in work in the software business, kind of what are the types of jobs that are out there. And I'm going to talk about the path that I took. And I'm going to talk about what roadblocks are out there. The key takeaway, which if you look at that, it was kind of funny, if you see they changed it now, Confucius sign that they had in one of the things in here. Basically, if you find something that you love to do, you won't work another day in your life. And that's the truth. And when you're young, you have a chance to really determine some of those things and take some chances that maybe when you're older, it gets a little more difficult to do. So if you want to be in the software industry or the software environment, which is a pretty wide, we were talking earlier, it was a pretty wide environment, what kind of job fields are out there? Well, one thing's for sure is that normally you have to take some advanced education. Right? You really don't learn the specializations and the techniques, et cetera, unless you take some advanced degrees. And then what I mean by that is going to college. Well, what are the things you can do? Everything from writing code, well, everything from data entry, which is somebody sitting at a terminal and punching stuff in. That's probably the least requiring special skills job in the software business. All the way to writing code, architecture, software implementation, some very complex things that are out there. And almost all of them are about, in my view, in software, I want to do something, and I need to figure out how to do it. I just need to figure out how to do it. And it can all be figured out. You can write code to anything. There's nothing that, given enough time, you can't figure out how to write a program to. If you like gaming, there's nothing that you can't dream up in your head that you can't eventually code and make happen. A lot of things usually have to happen in that ecosystem to do it. But if you enjoy that kind of creativity, if you enjoy thinking of something and then making it work in a digital world, software is the place for you to go. Key takeaway on this is thoroughly get to know what jobs are available and what interests you. That's why you want to get, if you're in computer sciences, which is usually the place you go, You play with a lot of stuff, and one of the places we see there's a huge demand right now, it's huge. There's two particular things that have driving segments in my business. One is mobile, which is, and that includes applications for iPhones and Androids and Windows 7 and iPads and any number of tablet architecture and mobile form factors out there. And second, social networking and social medias. Two huge drivers in our business. Right now, if you get out of a Georgia college and you've got an app and you've got a degree that's got some framework around designing applications in iPhone, you'll get snapped up like this. You can pretty much write your ticket in this, and you can go out west, you can stay here, you can go to New York. Ton of people looking for that. Same with mobile web. I would say that mobile web's probably the least known of that commodity out there because it's such a fragmented ecosystem, which is one of the reasons that my company has a lot of advantages. So the point of that slide was to say, hey, look, if you listen, if you're interested in software, the world's your oyster. By all means, try several of them, but if you want to start going in a direction where the natural market is shifting, mobile elements and social media are those places. Now, the path that I took is kind of going to give you a quick dossier on Steve Timpson. I started working at Home Depot when there were 9 stores. I ended up after 20 plus years actually, as a senior vice president of merchandising and marketing for the Central Division of Mexico. I had 3 buying offices reported to me, had revenue of almost $17 billion. It's great, listen, I priced stuff, I developed line structure, did all the marketing, etc. There were technical things we developed internally with Home Depot, but at one point I realized I really was working for somebody else, executing their processes. And at that time, so I retired. It was just about 21 years. I retired from it. It was great to be in the company that long. It gave me some real good opportunities and advantages of basically starting in a startup back before it was a big company. And I ended up in Chicago, which is where one of my offices was, and I opened a recording studio. And I opened a recording studio because at that time, there were a lot of handheld multimedia players out there. iRiver, Archos, those of you that might even remember, not too long ago, all the rage was, iPods were out, but they didn't have anything but text. So I was like, how do I take tenured musicians, because I knew a lot of them in Chicago, that had followings. When I say tenured, they've been around a while. They got a real fan base. They've got original material, and people were dying at the shows to get more product. So how could I take and do live video recordings and get those into a transaction hub like iTunes? And iTunes at the time was just starting to get into video. How could I do that so that I could allow a way for us all to make money on existing product? And so I went through a process of working through video and audio and compressing that and working that through the mobile platforms. At this time, keep in mind, there was just ringtones on your phone. If you had a Motorola flip phone, it was a ringtone. They were all black and white, or what we call, LCD, just the typical black screen, or white screen with black lettering. Well, I went through that process, and during that time I met my partner Marcy Troutman, who was working on this code to make things work on mobile phones. And I said, somehow we can blend what I've been doing, what you've been doing, and there's a way for us to really go after this market. And at that time, there were no iPhones, there was no applications really. Palm was the biggest operating system out there, et cetera, et cetera. You never know. What the decision was, though, is that having come from a big company, was to go into one that said, we have a vision, we have something, we have a product, do we have a right place in the marketplace? And is there an opportunity? Because God knows if you've got a great idea, it's not a hop, skip, and a jump to having a real business. What are the things you have to be able to do? The right product, the right process, the right plan, and the right part, and the right people. Previous conversation we heard him talking about from Trader Joe's, people are very important to the business. I can tell you for any business, people are critical for it. First and foremost, if you're in the software business and you have an idea and you really think about it, you say, this is a transformational idea. What's one of the ways to test if it's a good idea? Are there 3 or more people in the business doing the same thing you are? or you're thinking? If the answer is yes, it's not transformational. But I can tell you, I walk in every day. We have interns in our company. They come in, they got great ideas. We start to nurture and formulate those. The great thing about computer science is that, and especially if you're dealing with it every day, there's always a better idea, a better way to do something. But having the right product doesn't work if you don't have the right process. What does that mean? How do you go after the market? Where's your market? How do you figure out if it's a product that people will want? Why would they want it? And then you have to have the right plan. What does that mean? You have to take some finance. So my second advice, if you're going to take some higher education computer sciences, is back it up with some financial classes. You need to, if you're going to start your own business and you're going to go out there in the marketplace and you're going to have a price and you're going to try and raise money in the market, you better have a great financial plan. Now you can tie good people to that are, your financial officers and that type of stuff, but having a great idea and then knowing how it fits in the marketplace, you better have a plan, and that plan means, how much does it cost me to do this? How much will it cost me to stay? How much does am I doing it out of my basement? Am I gonna do it out of a rented house room? And what's that cost me, et cetera, et cetera. You can pretty much start businesses on a shoestring, but there comes a point where you have to have a real plan, and you have to have real money to be able to really invest in finalizing the development of your idea. And then the right people, what's critical about the right people is I can't tell you enough how important it is to hire people that are smarter than you in everything you do. Always hire smarter people than you are. It doesn't mean that you're not a smart person and you didn't come up with an idea, but you know what? If you pick the right people around you, develop the right team, especially to start on the core side of it. It's not just, it may be your best buddy and you two are the greatest idea men in the world, but you don't know finance. You better find a bean counter that's good enough. Go find the people that are in that are taking the business courses and get one of them to help you out, because ultimately you need to have a framework of people. Like if you're not good at selling, if you can't go out and talk to a total stranger and say, let me tell you why this is the greatest product in the world in 3 sentences, then go find the right salesperson to do it. These things take some talent and some time, but let me tell you, when you're to start a business with a great idea, you'll find something interesting happens. Everybody wants to give you their thoughts and opinions, and most of the time they're really, really good. So I entered to start a business because I love the technology. I identified the opportunity, mobile, and this is several years ago. So we're pretty well on the right trajectory for what we see. And I found the right partner. That doesn't mean that's someone that you get along with every day. By all means, it usually is someone that's a polar opposite of you and you fight a lot. I just let you know that's probably part and parcel to it. But if they were the same as you, why would they need 2 of you? It makes for a better dynamic. But finding the right partner, someone that's driven, someone that has the same vision, and is relentless at getting the job done. So I guess what I'm paying for, as opposed to going and working for a big box or somebody that may give you a nice charted career path, et cetera, 10 years from now in that environment, you may be just absolutely happy as you could be. You got your retirement, you got all those things. But if you really want to go after something that you're hungry for and make something you've created an impact out there in the free market, then starting your own enterprise may be the place to do that. And there's no better place in my worldview than software, because you can get in at a fairly low barrier to entry, and if you have the right product and the right process, you can make a quick impact, and there'll be a lot of opportunity to grow. One thing about software that's beautiful is this: it's digital. Our mobile web platform, I can go to 30 companies, and my cost, once it's developed, to replicate that is just the software architecture for the server environment that's involved with. I just basically take the code and go copy, paste. Okay, there it is. I've got a new addition. So it's not like buying and selling cars. It's not like cut and sew business for luggage or anything like that, where I got to have an inventory. I got to figure out what the customer wants. I got to sell to somebody. They got to hold an inventory, and they go, how much inventory do you got? In software, your digital world, your inventory cost is very low. Your development costs are very high,